Hi students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss theme of the poem Daffodils, and we are going to discuss figurative language used in the poem. So theme of the poem is very simple. It deals with nature and its beauty, and it tells us that we probably have moments in our life that we replay in our memory. Definitely we have the memories of different moments, but images to which or photographs or videos cannot do justice because they cannot capture our feelings. We do have the photographs or we have the images or we do capture videos, but they cannot express the feelings which we had at that particular moment. Okay, so in this poem, William Wordsworth, he not only captures the images but also feelings concerned to a special moment in his life, and that special moment was his encounter with the beauty of nature, his encounter with daffodils. So this poem is a tribute to nature and its manifestations or its display in all its glory, how nature is manifested in different forms. Okay, it beautifully presents before us not only the attractive and exciting beauty of nature, but also it tells us or it depicts the purifying or enduring impact of it on human beings. Nature deeply affects us. Its impacts are enduring, uh, everlasting. Okay, now in this poem, daffodils are the source of this impact or effect, but there are different forms of nature that can impact us or affect us, like in the form nature in the form of mountains, in the form of rivers, in the form of sea, in the form of greenery, in the form of pastures, in the form of meadows. In any form, nature always has a deep impact on human beings. So this is the main theme of the poem, Daffodils. Hopefully you would have understood. Now we will move on to figurative language that is used in this poem. Now, figurative language is usually the use of literary devices. Okay, so we need to understand what figurative language is. Figurative language uses figures of speech to be more effective, to be more persuasive, and to be more impactful. Okay. Now, different figures of speech like similes, metaphors, personification, illustration, imagery, all these figures of speech are used in poetry as well as in prose uh, to deeply impact or affect the reader. So today we are going to discuss the different literary devices. Now, what are literary devices? They are used to bring richness and clarity to the texts. And the writers, they use them to make their text appealing and meaningful. Wordsworth has also made the poem deeper and richer by using these devices. Now, this analysis of some of the literary devices used in this poem will help you a lot to understand the poem. Now, simile. Most of you would be familiar with simile. Simile is a device used to compare one object to another to help readers understand or to clarify the meanings using as or like. Simile is used to make comparison between two unlike things. You can use the word as or like. Okay, so there are two similes used in this poem. The first one is I wandered lonely as a cloud in the first stanza. Now here the poet compares his own loneliness with a single cloud, and the second one he used in the opening line of the second stanza when he says continuous as the stars that shine, when he makes the comparison of the daffodils with the stars. Okay, so here Wordsworth compares the endless row of daffodils with countless stars in the sky. So these were the similes used in the poem. Now personification. Personification is an attribute which is human attribute. When we give this human attribute to a non-living thing or lifeless object, we say we have used personification. Now, the poet has personified daffodils in the third line of the poem, such as when all at once I saw a crowd. The crowd shows the number of daffodils. And the second example of personification is used in the second stanza as tossing their heads and in sprightly dance. It shows that the daffodils are humans that can dance. And the third example is in the third stanza, uh, such as in a jocund company. Here he considered the daffodils as his buoyant company. He gives the attribute of human beings to daffodils, as they are giving a joyful or delightful company to the poet. Then we have the example of alliteration. What is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound. You know, there are five vowel sound in English language. On all the other alphabets of English language, they are known as consonants. So alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sounds in the same lines of poetry or prose, such as the use of g sound in I gazed and gazed. Okay, g sound is repeated, and the sound of v sound in what wealth the show to me had brought. Now here you can see the sound of v and v. G sound in gazed and gazed. G sound, then v sound in what wealth. Okay, the sound is repeated. The consonant sound, repetition of the consonant sound is known as alliteration. Now metaphor. Now simile and metaphor both are very near to each other. Okay, but in similes we are using words as and like, but in metaphor we don't use words as and like, and we treat one thing as the other. Now Wordsworth has used one metaphor in this poem in the last stanza. They flash upon that inward eye. Here inward eye, it represents the sweet memory of the daffodil, so he has used metaphor over here. Now another example of metaphor, for example, if I say she is as sweet as honey, uh, here I am comparing his sweetness with the honey, that she is very sweet, she is very kind. But when I say she is the honey of our family, now here I'm not making comparison, I'm giving the attributes of honey to her personality. Okay, so this is known as metaphor. Now, imagery. What is imagery? Imagery is the construction of details used to create mental images in the mind of the reader through the visual sense as well as the senses of touch, smell, taste, or sound. Now, the use of imagery makes the reader visualize, or he can make the pictures, okay, in his mind. Now, the writer's feelings and emotions um, are visualized, okay, with the use of imagery in this poem. Wordsworth has used images appealing to these senses of sight, such as lonely as a cloud, a crowd, never ending line. All these are the examples of imagery, Milky Way, and jocund company. These descriptions help the reader to imagine or feel the same joy felt by the speaker. So the use of imagery, it makes the reader visualize the writer's feelings and emotions. Now we can imagine all these things, and we can make the images in our own mind. Okay, so the careful glimpse of this analysis shows that the poet has very skillfully projected this idea or his ideas using these literary devices, simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, and imagery. Their appropriate use has made this poem meditative and thoughtful for the reader. Now, here I have images of figures of speech so that you better understand what is simile, what is metaphor. A comparison of two different things using words like or as. Now you can see in this example, on her first day of school, Jane was as cool as a cucumber. Now, as cool as a cucumber is a use of simile. Noah has a heart of a lion. Now see, I didn't say Noah is as brave as a lion or Noah is brave like a lion. Now instead of saying that, I have made a comparison of two different things that without using the words like or as, and I have given the attribute of a lion to Noah. So Noah has a heart of a lion. So this is an example of metaphor where you don't use words as or like, and you give the attributes of one thing to another thing. Now, personification. Personification, when we give a human trait to something non-human, okay, or a feeling or emotion. Now, see over here, the leaves danced on the wind. Leaves. the attributes of human beings are given to leaves. Leaves danced on the wind. The angry sore, see, sore, wound. The angry sore or wound was visible. Now, anger is the attribute of human beings, but here we have given this attribute to a non-living thing, that is wound. Okay, so here we have personified the wound. My heart was competing with my head. Now, my heart was competing with my head. Who competes? Human beings. And here this attribute is given to heart. Okay, so heart is personified. Okay. Next we have alliteration. What is alliteration? It is repeating sound, repetition of a sound at the start of a word. And which sound? Consonant sound, not the vowel sound. Okay. Now see, in this example, I've heard how hedgehogs hog the hedge. Now here the sound, her sound. I've heard how hedgehogs hog the hedge. See the sound. Also at the start of stressed syllables. Okay, I have heard how hedgehogs hog the hedge. Ha sound is repeated, and ha is consonant sound. And when you have the repetition of consonant sound in a line or in a phrase, so we say we have used the alliteration, or the writer has used alliteration. There are many examples of alliteration, like for example, Kit Kat, okay, Coca-Cola. These are also examples of the alliteration. So here we have the example of imagery. This is imagery. Now, what is imagery? Imagery includes sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. Imagery is the construction of details used to create mental images. Now, the mental images can be of sight. Now, in this example, the tiny red ant climbed up the broken twig. You can see, you can imagine in your mind, you can create this image. Okay, the sweet smell of a freshly baked apple filled the air. Now, this image relates to smell. Then taste. One bite of the sour lemon caused my lips to pucker. Now see, here you have the sense of taste. Sound. The car squeaked every time I hit a bump in the road. Now this squeaking, it relates to the sound. Touch. The sharp edge of the paper cut my finger and made it sting. The sharp edge of the paper cut my finger. Now here, this image gives you the sense of touch. So imagery, it creates the details and it creates the mental images in your mind. So it gives you the clear picture of what the poet or the writer wants to create. So this was all about the figurative language and theme of the poem. Hopefully you would have understood the use of simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, and imagery in poem Daffodils and in real life situations also. Thank you so much for listening.